Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a Draven updated complete guide. Now as you guys know from my tier list I released about a week ago by now, Draven is basically S tier and pretty much he's gonna always be in the S tier almost permanently. It's sort of like the Katarina thing in the mid lane where she's basically always going to be S tier because she always is going to have the potential to turn a team fight and carry a game. Draven is in the S tier for a different reason. It's because he has a really strong early game and he has a lot of agency in the early game. So if you're a really good Draven player, you will pretty much always be able to get ahead in the early game and carry the match pretty much almost all the time. However, I am not that Draven player. I am only like a decent Draven. I'm not really even that good at Draven, but I do play him a decent amount, and of course, I'm making a guide on him, so, I do know a thing or two about Draven, but I'm not gonna claim to be any kind of, mechanical god at Draven, which I definitely am not. Don't think that I really even need to say that, because you can probably see that from the gameplay later on, but, yeah. So we have, of course, covered Draven before, and as usual, you guys should refer to the original Draven Complete Guide for the skills and leveling order in the interest of time. So anyways, with all that out the way, you can jump straight into the build for Draven. So, Draven, this is basically his new build. Now, obviously, the main addition here is going to be LDR. So, it's really simple. You go for Bloodthirster, AD crit, physical vamp. You go for Infinity Edge, AD crit, more crit damage. And then you go for boots. Boots, you can go for boots of Fury, like as you see here, or you can also go for defensive boots. Of course, play at steel caps is a good default boot option for defensive boots, and also the Merc Treads if there's a lot of CC and you need tenacity. So all three of these are relatively good options for Draven. For the enchant, generally it's gonna be stasis, as with a lot of other ADCs. And then we generally get LDR. Now, LDR is always going to be a third item even if the enemy team is not tanky, because Draven wants attack damage more than attack speed. So you guys can see LDR gives you 35 attack damage. Not the most in the world, but a decent amount. Whereas this doesn't actually give any AD at all. And the alternative item you can build here is going to be Rapid Fire Cannon, which again doesn't actually have any AD. And Stormrazor, which does have AD, but we'll talk about Stormrazor a little bit later on. So, pretty much LDR is always going to be your third item just because of the AD it gives, and obviously more crit, more armor penetration, and that little bit of attack speed on that one first attack. And finally, to top it off, you can go for Slurry Charge Blade. Now, Slurry Charge Blade gives you that 100% crit, obviously gives you that crit on your basic attacks with the magic damage crit, which also helps you to do a little bit of mixed damage. Of course, at this point, you're at 100% crit, so every attack is going to be a crit. Also gives you more attack speed and ability haste. Now, attack speed and ability haste we don't care too much about. We're mostly after this for the crit rate and for the passive. And finally, of course, you top it off with a GA for the revive. Now, Draven can also build something like a Death's Dance to replace GA, or even a Maw. Of course, again, we don't want to build Wit's End because we want AD, not attack speed. But yeah, so this is Draven's default build. Now, there are times when you can go for Rapid Fire Cannon, and those times are basically when the enemy team is gonna be like relatively squishy, and one huge auto attack from you can basically destroy them. That's when you wanna go for Rapid Fire Cannon. Or if you just need to stay safe in the backline, Rapid Fire Cannon works really well as well. But Slurry Charge Blade overall gives you more damage and is better as a second last item in my opinion. So I go for Charge Blade most of the time unless I really need Rapid Fire Cannon. So, when do you go for Stormrazor then? Well, in my opinion, Stormrazor is a lot better as a early game like first item, but Draven is sort of a small exception to that. Now, I don't go for Stormrazor on Draven in a normal circumstance. I only go for Stormrazor on Draven when I'm incredibly fed and ahead. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, take a look over here. So basically, the Draven build is a little bit different when you're very fed. Now, you always want to go for Vamp Scepter first. Of course, you start off with a longsword and you can get Vamp Scepter relatively easily on your first back, which is going to build into Bloodthirster eventually. So every game, you always start Vamp Scepter, whichever kind of build you're going. But if you start getting like a double kill in lane, like, you go like 2 and 0, 3 and 0, you start getting fed, then you want to lean into the AD by going for 2 BF swords. So these 2 BF swords you see give you 40, 80, 40 AD. This only gives you 50 AD total. This only gives you 55 AD total. So getting like this huge injection of AD, although you don't get any passives from BF swords, but the huge amount of AD, like this is 80 AD. And you get another 20 AD, that's 100 AD, so you get 100 AD and 10% physical vamp. Physical vamp I think is very important for Draven because he does huge damage and getting that physical vamp is really, really big. So again, the physical vamp, AD, then you go for whatever boot item you want. Then you go for basically the normal build. You go for Bloodthirster, which is going to build out of Vamp Scepter. IE is going to build out of the first BF sword, and then you again go for LDR, and you should still have the second BF sword in the inventory this whole time, which will of course eventually build into Stormrazor as your second last item. So that's pretty much what I do on Draven. Now ignore the runes here. These are the default runes. Not sure why like sudden impact is the default rune on Draven. Makes no sense, but anyways. Now we can talk about the runes and the spells. So, first up, we have Lethal Tempo. Now, Draven has honestly a lot of options when it comes to runes and spells. You can go for Conquer, which is a very, very popular option. Gives you more AD, which is of course what you want. And gives you physical vamp, which is also what you want. And like some time ago, I used to always take Conquer on Draven because I thought that it was the best. And also, Kraken Slayer is also really strong, doubles down on his strong early game, gives him true damage, and relatively alright in the late game as well. So, some people do like taking Kraken Slayer, but why do I like taking Lethal Tempo? Well, basically, you already have very high AD from all of this, and you don't have so much attack speed. You do get attack speed from your W. However, with the Lethal Tempo, you will be able to attack at a rate that is so high when your Lethal Tempo is fully stacked that your damage output just becomes insane. So from my experience, Lethal Tempo gives you more DPS than Conqueror. So that's why I think Lethal Tempo is better. Now, Domination, you have a lot of options as well. You, of course, have Brutal, which did recently get buffed, gives you a lot of early game damage again. We have Hunter Vampirism, which is my personal favorite, because you can never have too much lifesteal. Like, you do already get that from Bloodthirster, but you can never have too much lifesteal. Very popular option for Draven. Triumph gives you a heal when you get a takedown, and also increases your damage to low HP targets, which of course synergizes with the fact that Draven wants to get kills to cash in. Why don't I take Triumph though? The main reason I take Vampirism over Triumph is because Triumph only works when people are low, whereas Vampirism works all the time. So to me, overall, Vampirism gives a little bit more value than Triumph. Although I wouldn't really blame you if you take Triumph, it's a really good option as well. So basically, those three are the main options. I guess if you're playing into a very tanky team, you could go for Giant Slayer as well, but you don't really want to play Draven into tanky teams in the first place. So Resolve, again, Bone Plating, pretty obvious, really OP rune at the moment. And then finally we have Nimbus Cloak, which of course gives you bonus movement speed when you cast your summoner spells, because no other rune really fits Draven for this slot, so might as well get the additional movement speed. Can come in handy for chasing down a kill or running away. For spells, Exhaust and Flash as usual, nothing too surprising there. But with all that out of the way, we can finally move on to talking about our gameplay. Okay, so here we have the gameplay for Draven. So basically, I love picking Draven into these kind of lanes. If you notice, we're laning against like a Caitlyn, and we're laning against a Senna. Now this is basically a free lane for Draven. It's two incredibly squishy targets that cannot defend themselves very well. Yes, it's true, Caitlyn has a dash to go away, Senna has a route that she has to aim and land, but in general, they don't have a lot of ways to run away or to really handle my damage. So basically, normally when you see like a Senna support or you see a Sona support, it's normally like a free lane for Draven, because those supports cannot really do anything against Draven. Now those are the most drastic examples. Like you guys can see, I can just walk up and attack her like boom boom boom. There goes all her health. I'm still basically full health. Now of course, Morgana did take quite a lot of abuse, but we are always going to win trades against them basically, because they cannot deal with Draven's damage, cannot out-trade Draven. And yeah, beautiful kind of match to play Draven. In fact, a lot of like other champions Draven does very well into as well, like mostly like squishy enchanters in general, like Seraphine for example, even Nami to a certain extent, but Nami can fight back because of her W, so not as much. But Draven loves playing against squishy champions, obviously, compared to like tank supports. Anyways, here you guys can see we're gonna start blasting down Caitlyn. Caitlyn gets out of range, so we blast Senna instead. Senna flashes out of range as well. We blast Caitlyn. Everyone's left with 1 HP. Now we have to flash up because Pantheon's spear landing would mean that we die. Pantheon gets the kill onto Morgana. We exhaust Pantheon and we start blasting Pantheon. Shen gets the kill, flashes over and gets the kill onto Senna as well. Now unfortunately, we don't get any kills, but fortunately we don't die. As I say that though, Aurelion Sol comes in, electrocute, ignite, and we die. The moment I saw him, I tried to turn around to go attack Caitlyn because I know I wasn't getting out. But still, ends up 0 kills for me, 1 death, 2 assists. Not the best start in the world because Draven needs the kill to cash in the stacks, as we all know. So, yeah, that ain't too good for me at the moment. However, we are still into a very squishy lane, and that squishy lane is now 0 and 1. Technically not Caitlyn, but Senna. Senna gets caught. Senna doesn't have flash. We knock Senna back. Unfortunately, Senna lands the root. We're just running her down. We're gonna tank a tower shot or two. But we do get the kill on Senna and we do get the cash in. So pretty much that's what Draven can do in these sort of lanes. Like when their summoner spells are down and if they step up just a little bit too far, you literally can just run them down just like that. So with that kill, with that cash in, we're now on the board and we now got the bonus gold and we now can hopefully start to snowball. Now also helping us to snowball is the fact that we're going to be able to get some tower plates. Caitlyn, I assume, has recalled. So we get 2 tower plates here, and with the wave running out, we can sort of back off. And there we go. So we're home free, and now Senna steps up again. Fortunately, don't get the auto attack just because she is in the mist, so don't quite get that off. Now I don't really have mana, so I'm gonna try to reset here. However, Senna tries to disturb us, does hit the W. And we try to turn on them because if they want to basically interrupt our recall, they have to overextend a lot. So we're hoping to actually turn on them. Unfortunately though, the Morgana doesn't actually land the binding, so we cannot really get a free kill there. But if the binding landed, that was basically a free kill because they don't have sums. Actually the sums are coming back up right as of now. At that point they still didn't actually have it. They're only just coming up right now. Same goes for me, my flash is also coming up real soon. And yeah, so here we don't quite have, we do have the mana now because we took the plant, so we can kind of stay in here a bit longer and just continue farming up like that. And now that we've gotten out the wave, we can now just reset and pick up our items. So we're not very fed, as you guys can see. We're 1, 1, and 2, like just alright. So we're not gonna go for that double BF sword after the Vamp Scepter. We're instead just gonna go straight into our Bloodthirster instead. Just building normally since we're not obscenely fed. Excuse me. So here we're gonna head back into lane. We're just gonna clear up the minions, and Dragon and Herald are both about to spawn. So as usual, when that happens, we of course do want to rotate over and make our presence known, especially as a Draven. We want to fight early game. Here I spot a low HP Aurelion Sol. So here I'm actually aiming my ult as I'm clearing the wave. I believe, no I do not. Okay, maybe this is not the moment, but I remember sniping the Aurelion Sol some point in this game. So anyways, nice route by the Morgana. We get another free tower playing, and there we go. The Aurelion Sol is still 1 HP. So I know somewhere around here we do snipe. There we go. So here goes the ult down, recall, and we do get the kill on Aurelion Sol using the recall of the ult for another nice cash in. So honestly, sniping with Draven ult is really difficult compared to like Jinx ult and like Ezreal ult, for example. Here Senna flashes, but I flash to follow, another cash in for me. Here we're just blasting who we can, which happens to be the Pantheon. Pantheon has the shield up, so we don't really do a lot of damage, but that's not really important. Instead, we're just going to go turn onto the dragon and get it. Here Pantheon tries to blast plant in. Only thing he gets from that is a extra death. Aurelion comes back in with the huge Q. I try to knock him away from it, but he still ends up tagging me with it. Unfortunately, Caitlyn doesn't land the trap. Senna doesn't land the ult on me, and I'm basically basically gone back healthy with the help of the fruit, and I can actually turn for a fight if needed, which does not actually end up happening. So yeah, sniping with the Draven ultimate is a lot harder than sniping with like Jinx or Ezreal, because Draven's ultimate, you know, kind of requires you to aim both the outgoing ultimate as well as the returning ultimate. So it's kind of a little bit hard to aim, and you also have to, you know, recall the ultimate towards you. So it's kind of a challenge, at least compared to the other ultimates that I mentioned above. But yeah, it does do huge damage, of course, and it's also really good to use in like an AoE setting. Like if you can hit like multiple enemies in the team fight with the ultimate, it's good to just ult, because Draven's ult doesn't actually scale with missing health or anything like that. So ulting at the start of the fight and ulting at the end of the fight is relatively the same. So here we're gonna get the last plate on the tower before plating falls in like 10 seconds. But unfortunately we don't actually manage to get the tower because we ran out of minions. Now that they given the tower the extra HP, it's really hard to tank the tower to actually get the tower kill, so we cannot do that anymore. Morgana gets caught by the roam of Aurelion Sol. By the way guys, remember how I mentioned in my tier list that Aurelion Sol is good if you roam? Like notice how this particular Aurelion Sol has basically been roaming non-stop. Now unfortunately for him, he's 1-3-1, he's not doing incredibly well, but the concept is still there that if Aurelion Sol roams non-stop, he can get picks for himself and his team. Here Echo comes in. I actually wanted to turn and help him, however the Pantheon goes in, and because of that I can't really help him. I tried to actually go back and whack the Pantheon away, but unfortunately that does not happen. Here Morgana is here to help me. Pantheon flashes away, Caitlyn flashes away as well, and because I don't have flash just yet, needs like about 10 more seconds or so, I can't flash to follow. Really unfortunate there. Could have been an easy double kill, but unfortunately they both managed to get away with their flash. So here the tower only has 100 plus HP left, so obviously we just want to push in and we just want to get the tower. There we go, kill onto the tower, and just gonna clear up the waves, and then we can of course go back and reset. Now Draven isn't really complicated to explain in terms of what to do with him. The hard part of Draven is of course simply being mechanically good enough to catch Draven's access. If you can do that, pretty much it's not very complicated to know how to play Draven. Basically you just catch access, use your W in between, use your knockback if you need to push an enemy away from you, or like sometimes like if there's someone flying at you like a Kali or Lee Sin, they can be knocked out of the air if you time your E correctly, but of course that is challenging. And with your ultimate, we've been through that. Either use it to snipe as a global ultimate, or just use it to do AoE damage in a team fight. So Draven, not too complicated in terms of conceptually how he's meant to be played. It's of course really hard in execution to of course juggle your access as you are you know, going throughout the game, farming, playing fights, etc. Alright, so now we're basically in mid because we've already gotten the top tower. So Echo is in top now and we are now in mid. Now here I'm just taking the blue buff because Draven can spam his W if he has blue buff. So it is pretty beneficial for Draven to get blue. Now of course if you have a mage on your team that needs blue more than you, you should still give it to them. But since Echo is dead, he obviously can't take blue buff. So I'm just going to take the blue buff instead because it's still going to be pretty beneficial for me. So here you guys can see the huge damage I land on Senna. Now one more auto attack there with the ultimate would have actually killed her. I kind of knew the ultimate wasn't going to kill her, but I was just trying my luck. And she also got to the fruit, so kind of no chance that we were getting the kill there. Now nice root by Morgana. I can just simply walk in and auto the Senna once to just get the kill and the cash in as well. Now here I thought Pantheon was going to jump, which is why I actually used my E. But unfortunately he jumped like 1 second after, so that didn't quite work out. Echo goes in on Aurelion Sol, and a huge team fight starts breaking out in the mid lane. Here I'm just blasting wherever I can. I'm trying to attack the Yone. Yone just dies. I try to flash over to get the kill on Aurelion Sol. I land 2 empowered auto attacks, but somehow he doesn't die. Now looking at the replay feature, it appears he was on 1 HP. Now I really did manage to get the kill eventually, but I cannot believe that he didn't die there. Anyways, regardless, we're going to take the Caitlyn instead, which is arguably a better prize. Pantheon forced the flash away yet again from one damage. Here, for some reason, Senna steps up. Here we almost, almost are able to run her down, but unfortunately not quite the case. So we're just gonna back off here, and hit over to the dragon. Now since my whole team is reset, even though dragon has spawned, I'm just gonna reset as well. Echo is resetting. Irelia and Shin are walking out of base. I'm just gonna reset and get the entire LDR just off of all of those kills and cash-ins. I'm now 5-1 and 6 with 10k gold, which obviously is the most gold in the game. Obviously because of Draven's passive, he kind of has an unfair gold advantage. Again, you know, compared to a lot of other ADCs or a lot of other champions, which is, you know, pretty much to be expected. So here dragon might be up, but we have a Herald barreling down mid, and here we're trying to see if we can turn for a fight. Echo gets the kill onto Pantheon, and everybody basically runs like more than one screen away from me. So I'm instead just gonna clear the lane basically, and yeah, not too much I can do here. Here I try to ult to try to contribute if I can, but yeah, nothing too much really happens. Caitlyn ults me and it barely even removes the Bloodthirster, the Bloodthorn shield. Like I'm still basically at full health and does basically nothing. I do get rooted under tower though, and that does a lot more damage than Caitlyn's actual ultimate. So here we pick up the tower, and now we can fall back onto the dragon. So important lesson here is basically that there's no real need to like rush to do the dragon, because as the team who's so far ahead, you can first, you know, get kills on enemy teams, zone them away, or like harass them, etc. before falling back onto dragon. Because if you're ahead, you know, you should have priority over the dragon pick anyways. Pantheon is here for some reason and he just dies. Yone is here as well. I guess you can see I missed 2 of my axes there. So, you know, bad Draven mechanics, I guess. But yeah, so here, enemy red buff is up. So since the jungle is not here, I'm just going to take it. Shen is walking down towards the bot side river, so I'm just going to take the red buff and recall. And now I'm actually going to pick up finally my stasis. Yeah, there we go. We finally get the stasis, which will or might save us if we're in a hairy situation. Right, so here now that we have a little bit of downtime, we're just going to farm the jungle now. Shen actually pings for Baron, and we don't really know if the enemy team knows that we are doing Baron, so we're just gonna do it anyway, and if they come we can turn around for the fight. The only person we have vision on is really Senna in the top lane, so we don't actually really know where the rest of the enemy team is, so it's a relatively risky Baron, but at the end of the day we get it for free with no contest. And I was actually gonna recall it, but I realized that I just bought my item, so I really have nothing to buy if I recall, so I decided to instead just continue staying on and just farming like the Krugs, and yeah, just keeping my farm up because yeah, no use recalling when you're, you know, high on health resources and you don't have anything to buy. So here Shen picks up the red buff. My red buff is about to expire, the one I picked up from the enemy side. So I'm just gonna refresh it using the, our red buff. So now we have Baron and our team is fed. So what we're gonna do is the classic ARAM, run it down mid kind of strategy. Echo is on the side pushing, and the rest of us is pretty much just gonna do 4-1 and just gonna go down mid. And here with the help of Baron, I'm just gonna try to take down the inhibitor, which I do manage to do. And here getting a catch, trying to kill with my ulti, but doesn't quite work. We're just gonna back off, fall back onto the tier 2 tower, which the Echo has managed to push in, and we're gonna help him take down this tier 2 tower, and then we can move on to the next inhibitor. So this is the ideal kind of Baron play you want to do, which is to take multiple inhibitors if possible, and if that opportunity arises, just end the game, which might actually happen here. We get the kill onto Yone, 6-1 and 9 now. And here, we're just going to run down the Senna. Senna stasis, unfortunately, so we don't manage to kill her. Now she flashes onto the base, but it doesn't really matter now because we can actually just simply end the game, as you guys can see here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Draven gameplay and guide. I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.